Hey guys, Ruminating Reaper here. It's a lovely sunny day out, so there's only one way to spend it, in the cinema. And I'm about to be moonwalking my way in. Yep, I'm about to head in to see Michael. A nice, controversy-free release. Not generated a lot of discussion online at all. No, in seriousness, I'm kind of looking forward to this. Trailers have looked quite good. I've been hearing great things about Jafar Jackson's performance, so I'm hoping at the very least it'll be a decent time where you get to hear, some classic Michael Jackson songs on the big screen. But the only way to find out if it actually is any good is to head in, get some snacks, and get seated for Michael. So I've got my popcorn here with the Cadbury Buttons toppers and a Fanta, ready to watch the Michael Jackson story on the big screen. Chamon! So, Michael, I'm back from seeing it. This is directed by Antoine Fuqua, director of films such as Training Day and the Equalizer trilogy. This is also produced by Graham King, who of course was producer on Bohemian Rhapsody. This also notably has the heavy backing of the Jackson estate. Obviously, word on the street is that this was a pretty troubled production, with a lot of reports of the third act having to be completely reshot, because it would have addressed that stuff, and of course they couldn't because of a legal settlement. So whether you're a fan looking to be entertained by the music, or whether you're disappointed that they're not going to be addressing that stuff, this is a film that has a lot of preconceived expectations behind it from both sides. But does the film rise above its pre-release baggage to deliver a genuinely compelling dramatization of Michael Jackson's story? Let's find out. So the film tells the story of the life and career of Michael Jackson, following him in the early days as a child in the Jackson 5, and his rise to prominence in his adult years, as he breaks through to become one of the biggest selling solo artists of all time, as he carves his own path and creates his own image with ambitious plans for his solo career, as he attempts to break free from the controlling grip of his abusive father and manager, Joseph Jackson. Now obviously at this point, music biopics are certainly not a new commodity. In fact, many have grown sick of them and the formula set by Bohemian Rhapsody. Not that you can't do anything interesting with them. I had hoped that with Michael telling such a groundbreaking and trailblazing story, that it would be the one to do that. Turns out, it is far better than its troubled production history would suggest. But that being said, it's never truly able to break free from the biopic shackles. So, look, credit where credit's due. There is a really, really interesting story to be told on the screen, and yeah, it's able to explore that stuff in really compelling fashion. Obviously a lot of the early scenes in particular with him and his brothers in the Jackson 5 and the abuse that he in particular faced at the hands of their father, Joseph. There's also a lot of really interesting stuff from his solo career. Obviously, as he's this trailblazing icon, one of the biggest selling artists of all time. There's a lot of really interesting stuff to be found there, particularly with, how, record executives, fight to get his videos played on MTV, and the sort of really ambitious plans he had for his career, and very much the barriers that he broke, notably in how he obviously got the gangs together for the Beat It video, brought them together through the power of music. There's a lot of really, really interesting stuff here that is ripe for compelling dramatic material. Now, Despite this, it very much does follow that, usual music biopic formula set by Bohemian Rhapsody. Follows it pretty faithfully. Obviously, with it covering such a broad span, it does at times suffer from that Wikipedia summary feel that a lot of biopics have, and so there are points where it very much will speed through stuff with montages, obviously, to get to the big moments, and the result of that is that there's stuff here that feels frustratingly sidelined, particularly Michael's relationship with his attorney, John Branca, who's obviously there for a lot of the big moments of his career. I think it does kind of show that this is very much edited by the same person that did Bohemian Rhapsody. Oscar winning editing, by the way, I should point out. And while there's certainly nothing anywhere near as ahem bad as that film's infamous pub scene with 62 cuts, there are points where the editing does feel kinda jarring. But still, when it's able to fully let the story breathe, there's a lot of compelling stuff here. And it all works because Jafar Jackson's performance as Michael is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he practically disappears into the role. It's almost kind of uncanny how much he very much nails Michael's quite softly spoken and vulnerable nature. He is truly magnetic. Proper breakthrough performance. There are other great performances as well, notably from Nia Long as his mother, Catherine, and also from Miles Teller as Branca, again, as sort of underutilized as his role is. Teller is good and does bring charm, you very much expect it to. It's a Miles Teller performance. But a highlight I have to point out, man, is Coleman Domingo as Joe. He is phenomenal as this just absolute nasty piece of work of a father, very much quite controlling and very much sees himself as the sort of central ingredient to the Jackson family and indeed Michael's success. He's a horrible, horrible man, and yeah, Domingo really relishes the role. He is absolutely fantastic. But as great as a lot of the performances here are, where the film really comes alive is in the musical scenes, which are just genuinely electric. This is where Antoine Fuqua's journeyman style really shines through to deliver some really, really thrilling moments. Obviously, there's the sort of, base satisfaction of obviously hearing these iconic songs on the big screen, but seeing them brought to life, obviously, with these meticulous and quite faithful recreations of iconic moments, is just incredibly compelling to watch. Obviously, you look at like early scenes of the Jackson 5 in the studio recording their big hits, to a lot of big moments such as Michael performing Billie Jean and also the making of the Thriller video. There's a lot of great musical moments here that are just genuinely electric and will very much have some audience members tapping along in their seats and have some on the edge of their seat. They are just incredibly well done and very much made to be experienced on the big screen. Now, obviously, despite all of this compelling material on display here, I do very much have to address the elephant in the room, and that it very much does feel like a sanitized biopic heavily backed by the Jackson estate, because there are points here where the dialogue very much teeters into mythologizing. A lot of talk about Michael shining his light on the world, and scenes of him looking to God for creative inspiration. It very much feels like a sort of, mythologizing him, turning him into this almost like mythic religious figure. rather than a genuinely compelling and flawed human. There's also, yes, some quite odd attempts to sidestep um that stuff. Obviously, there are sort of nods in that direction. Obviously, with some of his quirks, like obviously with him, visiting a lot of children's hospitals, and also the sort of Peter Pan stuff as well. Very much, nods in that direction, but very much tries to gently sidestep it. And so, despite how compelling a lot of the narrative material is, yeah, it does. It never truly escapes the sort of sanitized, estate backed biopic feel, which is a shame because the climax delivers a lot of really satisfying, crowd pleasing narrative moments, particularly in the sort of final stretch of the victory tour, and an electric ending of Michael performing bad. And if that title card at the end is anything to go by, we might see some of that stuff addressed after all. Assuming that second part that they've been talking about actually gets made. But if it does, who's going to play Jarvis Cocker though? We'll have to wait and see. Overall, while Michael is certainly far from the disaster its troubled production suggests it would be, thanks to some compelling narrative material, electric musical sequences, and a phenomenal magnetic leading performance from Jafar Jackson, it unfortunately never truly breaks free from the shackles of the music biopic formula, with a lot of surface level, rush through moments that very much gives the feel of being sanitized and heavily backed by a state. Out of 10, Michael gets a 6. So, let me know down in the comments. Have you seen Michael? What did you think of it? What are your feelings about the sidestepping of that stuff? Are you a Michael Jackson fan? Were you happy to see the music brought to life in the way it was? And if they make that second part, will you be watching it? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new, and don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.